all of that determination is a product of the possession of the mind. Let's just say, just making this up, at 10% versus a 30% rate, then you're going to see one is much more determined. There's a big difference between 10% and 30%, and that in the difference in what the result is going to look like. And so, and it only gets more grand, and in the smaller increments as we get higher, there's going to be a very large difference between someone who is, I was going to say 95% determined, but in 95% in full possession of their brain versus 90%. Yes, it's only 5%, but the difference, especially in that, even though it's like, oh no, 20%, no. When we are taking possession of our mind, when we get into higher levels of awareness, I'm telling you, the incremental shifts have a much grander impact. And so, and we experience a higher level of intensity. So the smaller shifts actually have a more grand impact, whereas someone is starting, like, as I said, closer to that bottom percentile, and you go, well, I went from 10 to 20, so it's more percent in there. Grand, yes, and that's going to shift. But again, those higher vibrations, higher realizations, it's something else, and it takes you somewhere else. And so it's determination that, again, how well you possess your mind and how well you go. Because the person that is more in full possession of their mind goes, I understand that everything is achievable by the possession of the mind. So you want to know why I'm so determined? Because I fully possess my mind. And because I fully possess my mind, I understand that determination, aka, as we talk about in change, CCT, it's the commitment, the consistency to the commitment, and that is the tether between, which brings us to the transformation, and that's what happens. The determination, the whole thing in there. It may seem that it may be one of those things like, oh yeah, you're determined if you have a commitment. Yeah, if you keep the commitment, if you actually keep it. And then you say, oh yeah, you've been consistent. Like, okay, you've been consistent. You're determined. Well, have you actually been positive? Like, have you been healthily consistent? Have you actually been consistent? Because if you've just been a little consistent, you ain't been consistent like you need to be consistent. And then that transformation, determination still lives within there, because guess what? I like what B.O.B. in one of his albums, Air and Elements, he has an outro and this song called Airbender.